Hey guys, I'm Ted and I'm here to give you another fast fact. And for this fast fact, we are going to examine slavery and the outbreak of war. So the one common denominator, the lone common denominator linking all the factors presented as a reason for the outbreak of war in 1861 and secession in 1860, the lone factor is slavery. Slave labor was used by the slave state economies to fuel that economy. The slaves did all the hard labor, all that hard agrarian work to produce that raw product, that raw cash crop that was exported to distant industrial markets. The conspiracy theories rested on slavery's expansion or abolition. Slave state social order was of course based on a racial hierarchy with large slave masters, large plantation slave masters at the top and slaves on the bottom. The fact that only African Americans, only those of African descent could be enslaved, and that there were, and this is compounded by the fact that there were laws that allowed for the enslavement of free men, women, and children, made slavery, made the social caste, the social order of the Confederate States, of the slave states, a racial caste that cast all African Americans, regardless of wealth or education, cast them in the shadow of European Americans and made them continually inferior socially to European Americans. Pro and anti-slavery emotions inspired the fanatics on both sides in the Kansas situation, the Kansas territory, that led to the Bleeding Kansas episode. Citizens' rights on where they could take their property and why they should not have to, on where they can take their slave property and why they should not have to compete with slave property, were all linked to slavery naturally. The political arguments, especially after the Mexican War, all centered on slavery, all centered on whether slavery will be allowed to move westward. The entire situation rests on slavery. The entire situation is summed up best by a quote from Lincoln, in which he tells a Southerner that the fact that he and other free state persons think that slavery is wrong and ought to be restricted, while the slave state citizen and slavery proponent thinks slavery is right and ought to be extended, is the real reason for the breakdown in relations. That is where all of their problems lie. That's where all their problems come from. And in wrapping up everything we've talked about with the Civil War, I'd just like to hit on this subject one more time. It's very dangerous to point to one instance as the sole cause, the sole rationale. But with slavery, we can very confidently, very securely, very safely say that this one issue touched so many other events that any way you try to turn, any direction you try to turn, any issue you try to identify as being the cause, it leads back to this issue. It was pervasive that way. Slavery was a very pervasive practice, and it influenced and it permeated just about every segment of American life. And with that being said, we'll break here. I hope you guys found this video enlightening and entertaining and insightful. I hope you view it as very thought-provoking. As always, hit like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know what you guys think about this video. And I'm Ted, and I'll see you guys next time for another Fast Fact.